Following story is a translated and adapted conversation, recounting supernatural experiences from around the world. This content is intended for entertainment purposes only. Listen with an open mind and enjoy the thrill of the unknown. The content in this video is purely for entertainment. Viewer discretion is advised. If you are easily frightened, be prepared some stories might just send chills down your spine. If you're ready, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and immerse yourself in the world of the unexplained. It was a crisp November evening in 1975 when 6 men, all seasoned loggers, packed up their tools after another exhausting day of cutting timber deep within the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Arizona. The sun had just begun to set, casting long shadows through the towering pines, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple. Among them was Travis Walton, a 22-year-old with an adventurous spirit and a deep love for the wilderness. The crew piled into a battered pickup truck, eager to return home after a long day of hard labor. The drive back through the winding forest roads was silent, save for the occasional murmur of conversation and the hum of the truck's engine. But then, without warning, a strange glow appeared through the trees ahead. At first, they thought it was the setting sun reflecting off something metallic, but the light grew stronger, pulsating with an eerie, unnatural energy. "What the hell is that?" one of the men muttered, as the truck rolled to a stop. As they craned their necks to see through the dense foliage, they spotted it, a glowing, metallic disc hovering silently above the ground. It emitted a soft hum that seemed to vibrate through the air. The craft was about 20 feet in diameter, bathed in a blinding white-blue light that defied explanation. Travis, driven by curiosity and an inexplicable sense of wonder, stepped out of the truck. Ignoring his friend's desperate warnings, he slowly approached the craft, his breath visible in the cold air. The others watched in horror, too afraid to follow. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the UFO, striking Travis in the chest with a violent force. His body was thrown back as if hit by an invisible wave of energy. His friend screamed in terror, convinced he had just been killed. Without thinking, the driver slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the truck sped off into the night. For hours, guilt gnawed at them. They eventually returned to the clearing, expecting to find Travis's lifeless body. But he was gone. No sign of struggle, no trace of blood. Just the empty clearing and the eerie silence of the forest. What followed was 5 days of horror, confusion, and a frantic search that would become one of the most infamous alien abduction cases in history. The men, terrified and accused of murder, clung to their incredible story while Travis, miles away from the world he knew, experienced something no human should ever have to endure. This was only the beginning of the nightmare. The dense pines of Arizona's Apache Sitgreaves National Forest stood tall and silent as night fell. Travis Walton's friends, still reeling from the blinding flash of blue light, sat huddled inside their truck. Silence weighed heavily on the group as panic clawed at their throats. Mike Rogers, the crew's leader, gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. "We have to go back," he muttered, though fear laced every word. "We can't. Didn't you see what happened to him?" Alan Dallas shot back, his voice shaking. The others nodded in silent agreement, their faces pale as ghosts. But guilt gnawed at them all. Moments later, they returned to the spot where Travis had vanished. The clearing was empty, no sign of the blue light, no trace of Travis. Only the oppressive darkness and the haunting echo of what they had just witnessed. That night, fear became a living thing. They drove into town to report Travis missing, but their story was met with disbelief. The sheriff eyed them suspiciously, already suspecting foul play. "A beam of light from a spaceship?" Sheriff Gillespie asked, his voice thick with skepticism. Mike's voice wavered as he responded, "It's the truth. We didn't kill him. He's out there somewhere." The search began at dawn. Locals, police, and volunteers scoured the forest, their flashlights cutting weak beams through the dense undergrowth. Days passed without a trace. Rumors of foul play grew louder. People whispered about murder, cover-ups, and strange lights over the mountains. But then, on the 5th night, a call came in. Travis Walton had returned naked, disoriented, and terrified, near a gas station miles away from where he vanished. His eyes were hollow with fear, and his voice trembled as he whispered only 3 chilling words: "They took me." The days following Travis Walton's disappearance were filled with dread and suspicion. His co-workers Mike Rogers, Alan Dallas, and the rest of the logging crew faced a storm of accusations from local authorities and the media. As the hours turned to days, whispers of foul play echoed through the small town of Snowflake, Arizona. Sheriff Marlon Gillespie, skeptical but methodical, led the investigation. Each logger was subjected to intense interrogation, their stories dissected for inconsistencies. Yet, despite the pressure, their accounts remained eerily identical. A blinding beam of blue light engulfed Travis, lifting him off the ground and into the sky. Then nothing. Rumors began to swirl. Some believed it was a cruel hoax, others whispered about murder hidden behind an elaborate alien abduction story. Tensions ran high. The town, once quiet and close-knit, became fractured by suspicion. On the fifth day, when hope seemed lost, the unthinkable happened. A call came through to Mike Rogers' house a weak, trembling voice whispered, "It's me, Travis." Mike rushed to the location Travis described, a gas station on the outskirts of town. There, shivering and disoriented, was Travis Walton. His clothes were tattered, his face hollow and gaunt, as if he had endured unspeakable horrors. Travis's return should have been a moment of relief. Instead, it raised more questions. Where had he been? How had he survived 5 days in the wilderness without food or water? And why, when he spoke of his experience, did his voice crack with terror? When Travis finally gathered the courage to speak, his words chilled everyone to the bone. "They took me, I saw things not meant for human eyes." The nightmare had only just begun. The 5 days that Travis Walton was missing felt like an eternity for his friends and family. His sudden reappearance was just as shocking as his disappearance. Late in the evening, a phone rang in the home of his brother, Dwayne Walton. A weak, hoarse voice on the other end said, "It's me, Travis. Come get me." When Dwayne and his wife found Travis at a gas station miles from where he'd vanished, they barely recognized him. His face was gaunt, his clothes disheveled, and his eyes reflected unspeakable fear. The once healthy, robust young man now trembled with exhaustion and terror. In the following days, Travis began to share fragments of what had happened. His memories were hazy, pieced together like a shattered mirror. He recalled waking up on a metallic table surrounded by small, pale beings with large, black eyes. They hovered over him, examining him with cold precision. His attempts to resist were futile, his body wouldn't obey him, and his mind was clouded by fear and confusion. Eventually, he found himself alone, wandering through narrow, dimly lit corridors inside what seemed like a spacecraft. In his frantic search for escape, he encountered tall, human-like figures dressed in tight-fitting uniforms. Their silent, emotionless stares chilled him to the bone. Word of Travis's return spread like wildfire. News outlets from across the nation descended on Snowflake, Arizona. Some called him a liar, a hoaxer seeking fame, while others believed his terrifying tale without question. Travis agreed to undergo polygraph tests, medical examinations, and hypnosis, all in an attempt to validate his story. While the results were mixed, one thing was certain: the trauma he exhibited was real. His friends, too, passed lie detector tests, reinforcing their account of the strange, glowing object that had engulfed him in light. Despite returning home, Travis found no peace. Nightmares plagued his sleep, and the fear of being taken again never truly left him. Small, unexplained scars appeared on his body, and certain triggers, bright lights, sudden noises would send him spiraling into panic. The story of Travis Walton became a symbol of the unknown, a haunting reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond the stars. The town of Snowflake, Arizona, had never seen such a media frenzy. Reporters swarmed the small community, hungry for answers about Travis Walton's baffling disappearance. The 6 loggers who witnessed the event faced intense scrutiny. Some believed them, others thought it was an elaborate hoax. Mike Rogers, Travis's closest friend and the crew leader, became the reluctant spokesperson. His voice trembled during interviews, not from guilt, but from sheer frustration. "I know what we saw," he insisted, "and it wasn't from this world." Despite passing multiple polygraph tests, public doubt weighed heavily on him and the rest of the crew. Meanwhile, law enforcement launched a full investigation. Sheriff Marlon Gillespie, a skeptic by nature, questioned every crew member tirelessly, yet no cracks appeared in their stories. Every detail remained consistent: the hovering disc, the blinding blue light, and Travis's sudden disappearance. Then, 5 days later, everything changed. In the dead of night, a payphone near Heber, Arizona, rang unexpectedly. The voice on the other end was weak but unmistakably Travis Walton's. He was alive but barely coherent. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, where doctors found him dehydrated, malnourished, and in a state of severe shock. When Travis finally began to speak, his story was even more chilling than anyone had anticipated. He described waking up in a sterile, metallic room, surrounded by beings with large, almond-shaped eyes and smooth, pale skin. Their silent presence filled him with terror, and though they never spoke, Travis could feel their intentions. They performed strange experiments on him, tests that defied earthly logic. But the most haunting detail, time hadn't passed the same way for him. To Travis, it felt like only a few hours had slipped by, yet 5 full days had passed in the outside world. The investigation quickly turned from skepticism to sheer horror. What had really happened during those missing days, and why had Travis been returned at all? As his memories continued to surface, the nightmares began, and so did the feeling that something or someone was still watching. Travis Walton was home, but nothing felt the same. The small town of Snowflake, Arizona, was now a battlefield of belief and skepticism. Friends who once trusted him avoided his gaze. Strangers flooded his doorstep, hungry for more details or simply curious to see the man who had returned from the stars. Yet, the most unsettling part wasn't the town's reaction, it was Travis himself. His eyes, once full of life, now carried a distant, hollow stare. He struggled with insomnia, terrified to fall asleep, fearing that they might return. Each night, vivid nightmares replayed fragments of his experience: the cold metallic walls, the cold touch of alien hands, and the sterile smell of the spacecraft. But it was the silence and overwhelming, crushing silence that haunted him most. The media frenzy intensified. Television interviews, newspaper headlines, even government officials expressed interest. Some believed his story was evidence of extraterrestrial life, while others dismissed it as a hoax. However, the most convincing piece of evidence came from the polygraph tests. Travis and his crew passed multiple tests with consistent, truthful answers. The odds of all of them fabricating such a detailed and matching story, nearly impossible. But questions remained. Why was Travis taken? Why was he returned after 5 days? And what exactly had the beings done to him? Travis underwent hypnosis therapy to unlock repressed memories, and what he revealed was chilling. He recalled being placed on a table, surrounded by 3 beings who examined him with cold precision. But then, another figure appeared, humanoid, but eerily perfect, with glowing eyes and a sense of control that made Travis feel utterly powerless. It wasn't just the physical tests, they seemed to delve into his mind, drawing out his deepest fears, perhaps learning from him or using him for purposes beyond human understanding. As months passed, the media lost interest, but Travis's life remained fractured. His relationships with friends and family were strained. He moved away from Snowflake to escape the constant whispers and stares. Decades later, the Walton incident remains one of the most compelling UFO abduction cases ever recorded. The mystery endures, with no definitive answers, only speculation and fear. In interviews today, Travis remains unwavering in his account. When asked if he believes they'll come back for him, his answer is always the same: they never really left.
If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Mystical Tales, so you won't miss out on more eerie and thrilling tales in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.